I mostly read public domain books here on Glenn Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist, or sexist, or bigoted, but in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist, but they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning, but I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining. Oh my God, I haven't lost a goddamn pound. It's been over a week, and I've barely done... Oh, God damn it! All right, take a seat, you little idiot. I was just reflecting on the fact that I've been dieting for over a week and haven't lost a goddamn pound. I am eating almost nothing. I am starving and ravenous by the time it's dinner time, and then I barely eat anything then. All because of my trip to Germany. I gotta make sure that I can walk around without being too fat with my weird knee. It's just welcome to the Glenn Reads Books to You mansion. It's a fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording in my basement. This is where I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, we're going to read About Barbers by Mark Twain. Want to learn a little bit about the author? I hope so, because I stole this from Wikipedia. The author, Samuel Langhorne Clemens, was born November 30th, 1835, and died April 21st, 1910. He was an American writer, humorist, and essayist. He was praised as the greatest humorist the United States has ever produced, with William Faulkner calling him the father of American literature. Twain's novels include The Adventures of Tom Sawyer in 1876 and its sequel, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn in 1884, with the latter often called the Great American Novel. He also wrote Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court in 1889 and Pudd'nhead Wilson in 1894. Why does that sound like that's going to just be offensive as hell as you read through it? And co-wrote The Gilded Age, A Tale of Today in 1873 with Charles Dudley Warner. The novelist Ernest Hemingway claimed that, quote, all American literature comes from one book by Mark Twain called Huckleberry Finn. Want to hear some fun facts I stole from BentToFloss.com? Mark Twain is a nautical reference. Like many of history's literary greats, Mark Twain, Samuel Langhorne Clemens, decided to assume an alias early on in his writing career. He tried out a few different names, Thomas Jefferson Snodgrass, Sergeant Fathom, and more plainly, Josh, before settling on Mark Twain, which means 2 fathoms, 12 feet deep in boating jargon. Where Mark Twain picked up the name has long been debated. According to one popular 19th century story, he walked into a bar to call out, Mark Twain, prompted the bartender to take a piece of chalk and make 2 marks on the wall for Twain, 2 drinks, 12. 2 fathoms. Twain denied this, however, saying that he swiped it from a captain named Isaiah Sellers, who used it at the New Orleans Pickaninny. But according to the LA Review of Books, there's no evidence Sellers used that name, and stories of it being used while Mark Twain was a steamboat pilot are unlikely. Instead, it's possible that he stole it from an 1861 maritime sketch in a magazine or some as yet unknown origin. That was really boring. Do I still have to keep talking before the grandfather clock goes off so I can shut up? I have another one, but that looks pretty boring too. He was an inventor. He made board games. He basically kind of invented the bra, though he was trying to make suspenders for men, so that didn't work out. And he made a better scrapbook. Oh, thank God. Well, with that, why don't we go down to the library and read this story. Hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. I see you're all settled. I see you're all comfortable, sitting there in that chair with a little blanket on your lap. Certainly didn't help me get out of my chair with all my weight as I struggled to get down the stairs. But okay, I'm glad you're happy. Why don't we read this story? About Barbers by Mark Twain. All things change except barbers. The ways of barbers, and the surroundings of barbers. These never change. What one experiences in a barber shop The first time he enters, one is what he always experiences in barbershops afterward till the end of his days. I got shaved this morning as usual. A man approached the door from Jones Street as I approached it from Main. A thing that always happens. I hurried up, but it was no use. He entered the door one little step ahead of me, and I followed in on his heels and saw him take the only vacant chair, the one presided over by the best barber. Oh, it always happens, so I sat down, hoping that I might fall heir to the chair belonging to the better of the remaining two barbers, for he had already begun combing the man's hair, while his comrade was not quite done rubbing up and oiling his customer's locks. I watched the probabilities with strong interest. When I saw that number 2 was gaining on number 1, my earnest grew in solicitude. But when number 1 stopped a moment to make a change in the bath ticket for a newcomer and lost ground in the race, my solicitude rose to anxiety. When number 1 caught up again, and both he and his comrade were pulling the towels away and brushing the powder from the customer's cheeks, it was about an even thing, which one would say next, first. My breath stood still with suspense. But when the culminating moment, number 1 stopped to pass the comb a couple times through his customer's eyebrows. I saw that he had lost the race by a single instant, and I rose indignant and quitted the shop to keep from falling into the hands of number 2, for I have done none of that enviable firmness that enables a man to look calmly into the eyes of a waiting barber and tell him he will wait for his fellow barber's chair. Well, I stayed out about 15 minutes, and went back, hoping for better luck. Of course, all the chairs are occupied now. The 4 men sat waiting, silent, unsociable, distraught, and looking bored, as men always do who are waiting their turn in a barber shop. I sat down in one of the iron-armed compartments of an old sofa and put in the time for a while reading the framed advertisements of all sorts of quack nostrums for dyeing and coloring the hair. Then I read the greasy names on the private bay rum bottles, read the names and noted the numbers on the private shaving cups in the pigeonholes. Studied the stained and damaged cheap prints on the walls of battles, early presidents, and voluptuous recumbent sultinas, and the tiresome and everlasting young girl putting her grandfather's spectacles on, execrated. It's probably a word that I'll hear this back later and be like, oh, God, you know what that word is, Glenn. But I don't right now, and it's my show, so fuck off. And in my heart, the cheerful canery and the distracting parrot that the few barber shops are without. Finally, I searched out the least dilapidated of last year's illustrated papers that littered the foul center table and conned their unjustifiable misinterpretations of old forgotten events. At last, my turn came. A voice said, next, and I surrendered to... number 2. Of course. It always happens so. I said meekly that I was in a hurry, and it affected him as strongly as if he had never heard it. He shoved up my head and put a napkin under it, and plowed his fingers into my collar. I had fixed a towel there. He explored my hair with his claws and suggested that it needed trimming. And I said I did not want it trimmed. He explored again and said it was pretty long for the present style, better to have a little taken off, and it needed it behind especially. And I said I had it cut only a week before. He yearned over it reflectively for a moment, and then asked with a disparaging manner, who cut it? And I came at him properly. I said, you did. I had him there. Then he fell to stirring up his lather and regarding himself at the glass, stopping now and then to get a close and examine his chin critically or inspect a pimple. Then he lathered one side of my face thoroughly and was about to lather the other when a dogfight attracted his attention, and he ran to the window and stayed out and saw it, losing 2 shillings on the resultant bets with the other barbers, a thing which gave me great satisfaction. He finished lathering and then began to rub in the suds with his hand. Well, that sounds like a very erotic moment. We can take a little break, and I'll waddle down to the basement. You better be down there. You better help me get out of this chair. As we go down to the basement, I tell you about the latest upcoming books from Penguin Random House. Grab my hands. Hold on. I'm trying to get down these basement stairs with my bad legs, with my huge body. Just hold on. I can see you're already sitting in the folding chair underneath that naked light bulb, as I waddle over here to this naked light bulb and play my guitar for you. Thanks for barely helping me get up and then just running away like that. I almost fell backwards back in my chair again. You're not a very useful... newest book from Penguin Random House? Sure. George R.R. Martin presents Wild Cards, Card Sharks. Book 1 of the Card Shark Triad by George R.R. Martin. Want to learn more about this and wonder why he's not writing the book that made him famous? Yeah, why don't we? About George R.R. Martin presents Wild Cards, Card Sharks. An arson investigator uncovers a conspiracy with world-shattering consequences in the explosive first book of the classic trilogy set in the Wild Cards universe, created by the #1 New York Times bestselling author of A Game of Thrones. Probably one of the few times that being a #1 New York Times bestselling author is actually valid, because his book is actually very well known, as opposed to other people that say, oh, my category is cat grease, and then you become like the best-selling author of that category. I'll stop. Now featuring a stunning new cover and an all-new short story. Oh, was this written originally at a different time? That would explain why. All right. And an alien virus rages the world with effects as random as a hand of cards. Those infected either draw the Black Queen and die, draw an ace and receive superpowers, or draw the Joker and are bizarrely mutated. The uninfected are known as gnats. When a fire destroys a Jokertown church, killing and injuring more than a few hundred jokers, Nat arson investigator Hannes Davis suspects foul play. Following leads throughout Jokertown, she stumbles on the Card Sharks conspiracy, a decade-spanning plot to eradicate the wild card virus and everyone affected by it. But Hannah's findings alone won't be enough to expose the sharks. It's her word against that of the powerful, well-connected government figures who don't much care about the threat that affects only jokers. She'll need to trace the sharks' conspiracy all the way back to humanity's first exposure to the virus, learning from those whose lives were forever altered by the card sharks. And she'll do it quickly before the sharks' plans come to fruition and bring about the end of the wild carders forever. I need to find out. Well, anyways, that's coming out March 18th, 2025. You can get it at a lot of places that I refuse to name because they're all horrible, except for bookshop.org. If I'm going to push anything, go to bookshop.org, because they're actually very nice people. I'm going to look up this Wild Cards Card Sharks and find out if it's like a reprint with a brand new fancy cover. Let's find out. Oh, it's from 1993. Oh, God, and the cover's very 1993. Woman with big boobs. That's a little twist. Well, that explains that. I thought maybe he's just, like, not writing his next Game of Thrones book, and he's just like, I'm going to do Card Sharks. Okay, well, that explains it. Well, anyways, you can find that at a bunch of places. It's coming out soon, and I refuse to name that. I'm going to have to find a new bit for the end of my little thing about books. Why don't you help me push me up the basement steps, and we can finish reading this story. Oh, for God's sake. You just left me down there while you came running up here like a little idiot and just trying desperately, clawing at the walls, trying to get up the stairs. Okay, well, why don't we get back into the story? He now began to sharpen his razor on an old suspender, and was delayed a good deal on account of a controversy about cheap masquerade ball he had figured out the night before in a red cambric and bogus ermine as some kind of king. He was so gratified with being chaffed about as some damsel who had smitten his charms that he used every means to continue the controversy by pretending to be annoyed at the chaffing of his fellows. His matter begot more surveyings of himself at the glass, and he put down his razor and brushed his hair with elaborate care, plastering an inverted arch of it down his forehead, accompanying an accurate part, in quotes, behind, and brushing the two wings forward over his ears with nice exactness. And in the meantime, the lather was drying on my face and apparently eating into my vitals. Now, he began to shave, digging his fingers into my countenance to stretch the skin and bundling and tumbling my head this way and that as convenience and shaving demand. As long as he was on the tough sides of my face, I did not suffer. But when he began to rake and rip and tug at my chin, the tears came, and now made a handle of my nose to assist him shaving the corners of my upper lip. And it was by this bit of circumstantial evidence that I discovered that a part of his duties in the shop was to clean the kerosene lamps. I had often wondered, in an indolent way, whether the Barbers did that or whether it was the boss. About this time, I was amusing myself, trying to guess where he would be most likely to cut me this time, but he got ahead of me. He sliced me on the end of my chin before I got my mind made up. He immediately sharpened his razor. He might have done that before. I do not like a close shave, and would not let him go over me a second time. I tried to get him to put up his razor, dreading that he would make for the side of my chin, my pet tender spot, a place which a razor cannot touch twice without making trouble. But he said he only wanted to just smooth off one little roughness. In the same moment, he slipped his razor along the forbidden ground, and the dreaded pimple signs of a close shave rose up smarting and answered the call. Now, he soaked his towel in bay rum and slapped it all over my face nastily. I slapped it over as if a human being ever yet washed his face in that way. Then he dried it by slapping with the dry part of the towel, as if a human being has ever dried his face in such a fashion. But a barber seldom rubs you like a Christian. Next, he poked bay rum into the cut place with his towel, then choked the wound with a powdered starch, then soaked it with bay rum again. I would have gone on soaking and powdering it forevermore, no doubt, if I had not rebelled and begged off. He powdered my whole face now, straightened me up, and began to plow my hair thoroughly with his hands. And then he suggested I shampoo, and he said my hair needed it badly. Oh, very badly. I observed that I shampooed it myself very thoroughly in the bath yesterday. I, quote, had him, unquote, again. He next recommended some of Smith's hair glorifier and offered to sell me a bottle. I declined. He praised the new perfume, Jones's Delight of the Toilette, and proposed to sell me some of that. I declined again. He tendered me a toothwash atrocity of his own invention, and when I declined, offered to trade knives with me. He returned to business after the miscarriage of the last enterprise, sprinkled me all over, legs and all, greased my hair in defiance of my protest against it, rubbed and scrubbed a good deal of it out by the roots, and combed and brushed the rest, parting it behind and plastering the eternal inverted arch of my hair down my forehead. And then, while combing my scant eyebrows and defiling them with pomade, struck out at an account of his achievements, of a 6-ounce black and tan terrier of his, till I heard the whistles blow for doom, and knew I was 5 minutes too late for the train. Then he snatched away the towel, brushed it lightly about my face, passed his comb through my eyebrows once more, and gaily sang out, "Next!" The barber fell down and died of apoplexy. Apoplexy. What is apoplexy? Let's look up apoplexy. Unconscious or incapacity resulting from cerebral hemorrhage or stroke. That's quite an ending. The barber fell down and died of apoplexy 2 hours later. I am waiting over a day for my revenge, and I am going to attend his funeral. Okay, well, that's the end of that story. Why don't we go down to the smoking room, where we can review what we just read. Well, all right, why don't you help me up? Where are you going? Oh, you son of a... Yeah, the millionth time, here I come. Stop looking impatient. You know it takes me a while. Okay, here I am. What do we learn from this story? My wife's birds. If only I had the dexterity to jump up and twist their little necks. Not a lot. It's just a whimsical story about how he hates barbers. One very annoying barber number 2, who doesn't listen. He's always trying to sell you stuff, and he's just annoying. That's it. That's the end of the story. There's nothing big here. Now that I'm short story Glenn, there's not a lot to review at the end. There you go. Funny story about a barber. Self-explanatory. No deep messages there. I went to a barber once, like a classic old-fashioned barber, in my hometown. I was going through a phase where suddenly I was like, this is like 2005 or something stupid. I want a haircut. No, this is the 90s. I want a haircut, and I want to be different. So then I was like, I can't think of a haircut that's different. maybe I'll go to an old-fashioned barber that doesn't know anything about new trends and just say, hey, give me what you think looks good. And so I went to this old-fashioned barber, and it was a dump. It had like the actual thing outside that spins around, the little pole. And I walk in, and all the windows are yellow. And I walk in, and it's real dark, and everything's kind of like brown wood, and stuff that's supposed to be white looks like it's got nicotine stains all over it. And it was pretty gross. And I sit in this chair that's clearly from like the 1930s. It was like really old leather and like brass. It was really strange. It was like what you think a dentist chair would look like back in 1890. And so I sat in that thing, and I said, get whatever you think looks good. And he didn't use scissors. He just used clippers, or like the little buzzer thing. He used that the whole time, and I had no idea what he was doing to me because he turned me away from the mirror and did everything without me seeing the mirror. And then like sucked off, which doesn't sound right, but he sucked me off with this giant hose that comes out of the floor, and it looks like it's from the 70s, and they like took up all the hair off my shoulders and my neck and everything with that, and I'm like, who the hell does that? I've never seen that before. And so finally when he spun me around, I looked in the mirror. I had a newspaper boy's haircut. It looked like a classic 1930s newspaper boy haircut. It was horrible. So I never went back to one again. That's it. I got nothing else. So thanks for listening, and I will maybe see you next week. Since I took the time to tell you a story, you think you could help there? Oh, there you go. Yep, okay, fine, whatever. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people, not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com. But if you go there, you get to hear some of the other stuff that I and my wife work on, like the Radio Mystery Theater show, where we try to recreate the same show that used to be on in the 70s, but they don't make any episodes anymore. So we make our own, and we just steal all their commercials. And also, just in the curious mind, we made a Christmas album. If you go to our link tree, you can see that we made a Christmas album. It's the first thing we did after getting married, which I think everyone should do when they get married, is start talking about the Christmas album they're going to make. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly. glenn.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdlinger or a dork. Now, back to business. I can't believe I drank all of them already. There's got to be one left.